Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field educate, inform and inspire the community to live a healthier and balanced life and live the lifestyle they love. Our first guest today is men's coach and registered nurse, Kosta Michalopoulos, and he's here to talk to us about masculinity and the 4 pillars. Welcome to the program, Kosta.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa.
In terms of masculinity, what are the 4 pillars?
Throughout my journey over the last 25 years in healthcare, I've worked with lots of men. And throughout my personal journey as well, I've realized that everything comes down to the 4 pillars of how we function as men. Emotions, beliefs, habits, and our relationships. And if we break down all these 4 pillars, it pretty much covers our emotional and intellectual and physical being as men. So emotions, what are we feeling? Understanding exactly what's happening inside of us. And we often find as men, our vocabulary, our emotional vocabulary can be quite limited. Understanding and giving a voice to what's happening inside, it's actually quite powerful. Beliefs. What are values? What do we believe? How we have been raised as men? The societal expectations, the cultural expectations, religious, where we live, our parents, our little society, how it's impacting us and the way we think and how we function. That creates all our beliefs. Habits. How do we do things? What do we actually do? We have good habits, bad habits. How do we put in practice all our beliefs, their emotions, and how do we function as men? And then ultimately relationships. And I break down the relationships into 2 parts. Relationship with ourselves and relationship with outside world. Whether it's relationship with our loved ones, family, colleagues, nature. So under these 4 pillars, we understand as men what do we need and how do we do things.
In the past, do you think that man looked different to how man is today?
Absolutely. So let's put in context of the 4 pillars how men used to function, let's say 500 years ago, where survival was completely different than what it looks today. So men didn't have the luxury of speaking about emotions. They needed to show up. They needed to be the provider, they need to be the protector. But things have changed. Fortunately or unfortunately, we don't live in this age anymore. So we live in an age where technology and health has increased so much. So we have the luxury of looking after ourselves, being a bit more curious about what's happening. And I think that's the biggest difference between the men of, let's say, even 20 years ago and the men of today. What do we need? How do we actually get that? And how do we communicate that with our loved ones, with ourselves? So I migrated in Australia in 2001, and looking back, the young man that I was back then, and what was the norm for me, what was the narrative, my narrative as a man in Greece in the 90s and the man that I am today, it's completely different. I was told the story that I needed to man up, I needed to be tough and resilient and stoic, which there's nothing wrong with it, but being able to find that balance, and that balance that I never had in my life up until a few years ago, and now I'm the man where I can understand my emotions and I can express my emotions, and I can define my beliefs and my values, and that can sort of resonate through my habits, and then ultimately through my relationships. So I think this is the biggest difference. The man of today knows what they want and what they need, knows how to communicate that, has the emotional intelligence and the emotional language.
For someone going through a self-discovery journey, do you have any advice?
Absolutely. From personal experience, it takes time. Long time. It's not this linear journey where the start and the end. It has the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the wins and lots of losses. So patience is paramount. But the most important thing is awareness. Allowing the knowledge to come through, awareness of our emotions, and I'm coming back to the 4 pillars, awareness of our values, what actually is very important to us, understanding that. How can we change something if we don't know what we're actually changing and why we're changing this? So awareness is very, very important. And then self-love. Talking to men about self-love, it's not easy. It's not easy. We know how to give love, but we don't know how to receive love. As a therapist, it's easy for me to look after people. It's easy to have the advice and the time and the knowledge and the care, but when I try and give that to myself, I just don't know how to do that. And that takes a lot of practice. And that takes lots of, again, ups and downs and lots of mistakes to be able to look at yourself with care and love. And take the time. And I'm not talking, when I say self-love, a lot of men will think, putting moisturizer on my skin or sunscreen. It has nothing to do with that, which is very important. That's very important as well, looking after our physical body. But I'm talking about looking after this, ourselves, and having that inner dialogue. And that little, you want to call it devil or angel, that sometimes sits on the shoulder and just keeps talking. Having the conversation with that little person. And see what it has to say, but not from a place of judgment that we don't want to have this conversation, but from a place of love. The other thing as well, as you're going through the self-development journey, and we're saying the ups and downs, it's very crucial to understand when do you actually need the help. And that help might be just reaching out to loved ones and expressing what's happening, but then that might look into seeking professional help. Might be speaking with a counselor, speaking with a psychologist, speaking with your local doctor, and see what can they actually offer. Because it's not an easy journey. It's not a journey that is going to be defined, what we said before, within a few months or a few years. It's an ongoing journey. And having the professional help, it's paramount.
That's really informative. Thanks so much for being on the program, Kosta.
Thank you so much for that, Melissa.
If you'd like to know more about the 4 pillars of masculinity and Kosta, go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, another guest with an interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, root cause and somatic therapist Nicole Healy will be talking about navigating grief of loving someone in addiction. Welcome back. Our second guest is root cause and somatic therapist Nicole Healy, and she will be talking about navigating grief of loving someone in addiction. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
So talk to me a little bit about what is addiction and what is it to mean to navigate grief of someone who's still alive?
So addiction really is any behaviour that we have a craving for, that when we partake in that behaviour we find relief, and will continue to do it even though it has a negative or a heavy impact on other areas of our life. And it's important to note that addiction is in a spectrum. So at the lower end of the scale will be things like scrolling on your phone, maybe working too many hours, those lower impact type of behaviours. Then the other end of the scale is things like drugs, alcohol, gambling, porn, that will have a heavier impact on your life. And those are the addictions that generally have a stigma attached to them, which quite often can keep families, loved ones, even the person in addiction hiding that behaviour away. Now, understanding addiction for me meant that I understood myself more and realised that I had carried an addiction to food for most of my life. And this began when I was around 4 and my father suddenly passed away. And everybody came, as they do, and they brought lots of food and lots of sometimes sort of food. And I had been spending my life trying to recreate the love and the support that I received through the food. So as a 4-year-old, I just knew that I wanted to feel that support again, and I have lived that. So whenever I have felt angry, anxious, hurt, I have turned to food to soothe myself. And understanding that has meant that I can show myself compassion, and then that compassion has also been able to extend towards my partner with his addiction as well. So hopefully when people understand that, they can be more compassionate towards themselves and their loved one. And navigating the grief really is having this person that you love start to maybe change in behaviour, maybe feel more distant, maybe you're not really included in what's going on in their life anymore, maybe they're not involved in family events, maybe they just feel like even though they're sitting near you, they're a million miles away. And the way that we can feel about that is very similar to grieving someone who maybe has passed, where we will feel sad, maybe anxious, maybe confused, and that can bring on the despair of not knowing how to support them and what to do, and usually trying to navigate it on our own because we maybe feel there's too much of a stigma to reach out, and that can be a really heavy place to find yourself in.
And you did mention stigma just now. What does that mean? I mean, is there still a very big stigma when it comes to admitting that, oh, you know what, I'm struggling a little bit as well. I'm trying to navigate these feelings. How do I do that?
I think the stigma firstly comes with addiction and the judgment that we may feel, and it might be there, it might not, but we do see it in a lot in society where there is judgment or people think addiction is a choice, and families maybe feel that it's a failure on their part, especially if it's their child, so they maybe don't want to reach out. So that adds to the grief as well, that you're navigating it alone. But understanding that it's not a choice. If you think about my story, that 4-year-old didn't choose to use food as a way to soothe herself. Someone who maybe finds themselves in drug addiction won't choose drug to be the thing that soothes them. It's just the thing that works. So hopefully understanding that, you can see addiction a bit differently and maybe feel more willing or more safe to reach out to loved ones. So if you think back to the story of me as a 4-year-old using food, a 4-year-old doesn't consciously choose to use food as a way to soothe herself. It is just something that was there that brought relief, that has continued to soothe me throughout my life. And I'm really grateful for it, because I think, how would I have navigated so many challenging situations without that there is a support? Now, quite often for families too, the stigma that is attached to addiction will lead them to navigating in silence, and maybe that can lead to other things like feeling depressed, feeling isolated, feeling heartbroken, disengaging from life because they feel like they're almost running on empty, just trying to get through all the chaos and all the events that comes with loving someone in addiction. And I think it's really important to give yourself some grace with that and understand it's not a situation you chose to be in. Your loved one didn't choose it either, but really important for us loved ones to go, well, I didn't choose to be here. I'm going to give myself some grace with this, and maybe try to start to think about, what can I do that is going to help me, even in little ways. That can be something that you maybe enjoyed doing before you started to feel lost. It might be something new you might want to try that feels it can bring you some comfort, or it feels safe.
Do you have any advice for our viewers? Anyone who might be navigating this kind of grief? What can they do? What next steps can they take?
I think the first step is to be really aware of how you are actually feeling, maybe check in. And if you are noticing that you're maybe not coping and feeling like you're engaging in life, maybe you feel like you're just surviving rather than thriving, to first thing, think about getting some professional support. There is lots of great people out there that can support you. I think also too, to give yourself some kindness, to understand this is a really challenging situation. And I know it's hard to reach out, but find some safe spaces, whether that's loved ones that when you do talk to them, you feel heard and valued. Because the last thing that we need is judgment. We are already living a life where we do already feel a lot of that, and that's not very helpful. So just be really kind to self, get that professional support, and hopefully things can start to turn around for you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
If you'd like to know more about navigating grief of loving someone with an addiction or about Nicole, you can check out her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll be back after a short break with another interesting guest and great topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga will be talking about the 4 sources of energy for health and well-being. Welcome back. Our third guest is journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga, and we will be talking about the 4 sources of energy to improve your health and well-being. Welcome, Beatriz. It's so great to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'm now very much part of the program.
So please tell me, what are the 4 sources of energy?
I tell you, I've lived sitting on that chair for a long time, interviewing presidents, getting up at 4 a.m, covering countries in war, being in Afghanistan, stressful, and my energy level was so low, very low. And so, I just couldn't sleep well, and I demanded many things from people, and I was impatient, and I had all the side effects of stress. That first of all, even before meditation and before breath workshop, we have to look at the very simple 4 sources of energy which are given to us by the universe. First is a very common one, but we don't pay attention. Food. First is food. Second one is rest. Third one is breath. Many people, few people know about the amount of energy that we can get through breath. And the last and fourth, and not the least, the last but not the least, is a happy state of mind. When you're happy, your energy goes up. And within the last one, the happy state of mind, meditation comes in. Food, we think that we are the garbage collector. No, our body is a precious tool that has been given to us. We should not only respect our body, our needs, and feed the body properly, because we're feeding the body any garbage. Fresh food, many vegetables, many fruits. I mean, in Australia, you have everything, fruits and vegetables and freshly cooked food. That's the main thing. Look after your food. And then also look after your drink. 1 glass of wine, 2 fingers of wine, that's okay. It's good. So watch what you drink and drink a lot of water. The doctors are very happy with me because in the Art of Living, we teach people to drink between 3 and 4 liters of water every day. So important to drink. The body needs a lot of water and we don't drink enough water. The second one is rest. And resting is not sleeping. Resting, I mean, even if you just take 15 minutes in between work, take 15 minutes to do nothing. And nothing is nothing. People don't know anymore. They go to the beach, they take Netflix. They go jogging and they take the earphones. Resting. Give the mind a break. In meditation, you also give the mind a break, but that comes last. Third one is breath. With the breath, you can control your mind, you can control your emotions. Every emotion that the mind produces has a different pattern of breath. When you're very stressed, how do you breathe? Like this. When you're very tired, zero energy. Something is contracting. When good news, you move, your energy expands. And when you are down, contraction. So this is just to tell you how important breath is for the control of emotions. Because fear is an emotion, anger is an emotion. You use your breath and you can increase your level of energy tremendously. And then the last source of energy is a happy state of mind. Can I ask you something? Who is responsible for your happiness? Me. But we are very keen in saying, my dog has to make me happy, my boyfriend, my husband, because of my children I'm not happy, because of the money I'm not happy. What? It is my responsibility to be happy no matter what. In this fourth source of energy, which is a happy state of mind, is meditation. If you're able to reach deep meditation, 20 minutes of deep meditation is the equivalent of 3 hours of good deep sleep. So include your meditation in your happy state, because when you sleep well, oh, what a nice sleep I had. So if you look after these four sources of energy to begin with,
which source do you think is the most important? Which one would you say, if I said, okay, of the four, I want to choose one for today to do, which one would you suggest?
One goes to the other. You cannot eat well and not sleep proper. Yeah, you have to respect the 6 to 8 hours that the body needs. Yeah, and the main one is meditation and the breath. The breath work every day. I brush my teeth, I wash my body, I sit and I brush my mind. I wash my mind. My energy level is high and I come out prepared. If somebody crosses my car with another vehicle, I don't shout, ah! I just go, my goodness, this guy must be so tired. And I'm more patient. So I would say all of them are very, very important. But if I had to choose, I would do nothing I'll do before I do my breath and meditation. I don't leave the house. If I have to fly, if I have to go to a funeral, if I have to visit my in-laws, I go first for my breath and meditation, and then my life is much, much better because my energy is high and I cannot change my surroundings. I can't change that, but I can change myself. I can be strong, cool, calm, and collected through breath and meditation. I am still the same housewife, the same journalist, the same athlete, but now I am a more tranquil and happier woman.
So what tips would you have for our viewers now? What should they do to work with their breath and meditation?
My first tip is do not postpone, procrastinate. Start today. Start looking at your diet today and do some exercise, do some yoga, do some running. Jogging is for free. You don't need to pay the gym. Do something with your body and also start finding out the benefits of the breath. I climbed the Everest twice, once from Tibet and one from the Nepali side. And my breath had to be very good, I tell you. It has to be very good. You need training. But you train yourself for your family, train yourself for your office, for your job, for the traffic, for the issues of everyday life. And I tell you, it is a before and after.
Wonderful. It's been such a pleasure to hear about this today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you would like to know more about the four sources of energy and Beatriz, you can visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. That's all we have time for today. Goodbye until next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel.